Hello and welcome everybody to another weekly live stream. My name is Jerry and you're watching 3DHP. Today is episode 21. Doing a countdown from when I first started my weekly live streams up to now. It's been 21 episodes, not counting my hangouts that I do once or twice a week. And today I've got a really super special guest on. I've got Matthew Nicholas on, and he creates all kinds of really cool props and this, that, and other. Let me bring him in and we'll get started. Hey, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, Jerry. How goes it?
Oh, pretty good. Like always, I get nervous when I first start my stream. With my hangouts, I don't. But I don't know why I get nervous when I go live and start talking.
Don't sweat it. I was sitting behind the scenes secretly judging. That was all the pressure you could feel.
Let me go up here and say hi to a few people. We're live on YouTube. We're on my Facebook group and my Facebook page. Hello, Dan. How you doing? Non-fam, how's it going?
Hey, everybody.
David Sell, Betty Boop, SPC 3D, 3D Medic Vince. Hello, Michael. Gary T, how's it going? Auto Drop 3D, hello and welcome. I see we got one person on Facebook watching and 9 people on YouTube, but that will pick up as things go. Anyway, to get started, I seen that over the weekend. I was like most people did. You're watching Virtual Earth. It went for 2 days. That was really awesome to watch. And I seen you on there. And how'd you like it?
It was intense and awesome at the same time. I'm absolutely amazed that those folks were able to pull a convention like this together online. I got to say, this year's been pretty crap. I think we all know it, but that turned into just a really neat and unexpected silver lining. It reminded me of going to conventions, a decade plus ago, and it had the same energy the whole way through, and the same letdown when everything shut down. We kind of went, okay, well, what the hell do I do now? But it was great. Met a lot of awesome folks and saw so many amazing projects. It just, 3D printing is one of those things that never ceases to amaze me. You bring so many different people from so many different walks of life into it, and give them a 3D printer and see what they do with it. And man, some of the projects were just phenomenal.
If you can think it, you can create it and you can print it. I mean,
yeah.
Back in the day, you'd have to make things out of metal, wood, or clay, send it out to somebody, have them design it for you, wait 3 months or 6 months to get it back, and you can do everything in a matter of days now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, or you're stuck, sculpting things by hand and casting, and I've certainly done my share of that over the years. But man, it just reinforces just what an amazing tool we're all lucky enough to have, sitting in our houses, our shops, our garages. It doesn't ever get old, and the potential seems limitless.
I watched it over the 2 days on and off, and I see they were on Discord also. I never did get over on Discord and listen to any of that was going on, but I need to rewatch both days.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, the Discord was set up so well. You had all of the sponsors and the big presenters, had their own dedicated rooms, and then the exhibitors were broken up into sections. So
there was no video involved in Discord; it was just audio, right?
Correct. Well, audio and text. Yeah. So all the rooms had an audio section, so folks could swing by. So I spent I spent a pretty decent chunk of the weekend manning the prop booth or bouncing around chit chatting with other folks as well. But yeah, it was a really neat way to use Discord to give you that convention vibe and actually give you a chance to have some one-on-one time with folks. And if anything, I think the comment that I saw repeatedly was that folks were pleasantly surprised that, you know, if it had been live, there might have been booths that they may have, like, you know, glanced at with one eye and then kept right on walk-in. And if anything, folks tended to actually hang out in rooms and actually get more information about products and vendors. And yeah, it was neat.
If I could ask you, what got you interested in the 3D printing and about when?
Oh gosh, I've been doing it for a little over 5 years now.
Wow.
And I mean, I grew up building model kits, and then went off and joined the Army and did my Army time. And
Well, thank you for your service.
yeah, how do you answer that question? It's always awkward. But you know, I not too long after I got out of the Army, I happened to, and I came across a video or something or another of folks in stormtrooper armor, and I was still back out east in North Carolina, and ended up making contacts, going to a dude's house and getting a set of stormtrooper armor out of a box, and getting that put together. And that was a childhood bucket list, you know, item checked off, and joined the 501st, and then it just reignited the passion. And so I spent about another 11 years in the 501st, and by the time I left the 501st, I'd built 12 costumes and a full-size R2 and a full-size Han Solo and Carbonite, and I ended up selling the entire collection piecemeal, and that was enough to do a down payment for my wife and I's first house. So,
awesome.
You know, I think that opened her eyes. You know, she never, you know, she had a couple costumes that I had made for her, and she'd go do stuff with me, but you know, it was never really.
I've got some early pictures here I could show, and you can talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
One from a long time ago.
Yeah, that was actually one of the last costumes I did, was that Django costume, and all of the silver armor plates are all hand laid fiberglass and rub and buff over the top of them, which it was enough to fool people. I lost count of how many times people would walk up and knock on the armor plates. But yeah, that's
a great job.
Master replicas, Westar pistols, and got my hands on the original boots. And my dad actually, he does phenomenal leather work, and he's the one that made the whole belt pouch and holster setup for that rig, and that just an absolutely beautiful job on it. I think that was, out of all of the costumes that I did for my 501st years, that was the one that I just wish I hadn't let go of. I love that one.
This next one, I'm not sure which one's you.
I'm the very front one. Yeah, we had a big Salvation Army fundraiser that we did back when I was living up in Portland with Cloud City Garrison, and yeah, we got some decent photo ops out of it. So that's the whole Sand Trooper setup.
Awesome. You go on the next one here.
And that's my original R2 there. Out when Star Wars, the Myth and the Magic, I think it was a traveling roadshow of screen use pieces that wandered around the country, and I worked on that R2 unit for 6 months. It was all fiberglass, minus the dome. This is when, you know, back in the day before the 3D printing stuff. This is when you just had to do it by hand, and we do runs of parts on the R2 builders group, and so that's a double spun laser etched aluminum dome on him, and he had wheelchair motorized motors in it. But and my fondest memory of that is not only being able to park it in front of a screen use piece like that, but the kids just mobbed it. All I could think the whole time through, I think anytime I pulled costume or anything on, was I would have just killed for this as a kid. And I think for all the little kids that were there at the museum that day, because this all took place at OMSI, that's the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. And the kids, I think once they saw one that was outside of the glass that they could actually touch, I've never seen kids mob something so fast. And it took a crowd of stormtroopers, surrounding him to kind of get him walked out to get him backstage. But
so hopefully nobody tried to run off with it or push
it. No, that dang thing was so heavy. It took 3 guys to get it lifted up and into the back of the rig to transport it.
Is this the same one here?
It is, yeah. That was it, in casting pieces, and that was the version 1 dome on the body, which was fiberglass, and I was never terribly happy with it. Ergo, swapping over to the aluminum dome. But yeah, that's one of those big labor of love projects. You can do it now. There's a handful of guys like Mr. Badley. You can get his files for free.
Is that about 2 foot in diameter?
No, yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, I think it's like 2 1/4, 2 1/2, somewhere in there.
To make something life size with all the electronics, all the printing, all the PLA, what do you think it might cost to build something like that?
Well, I'll tell you, if you do like Mr. Badley's files, which are phenomenal, by the way, and they're free, an R2 unit, if you don't have any failed prints at all, it'll run you about 25 rolls of filament.
Wow.
To go the whole 9 yards electronics wise in it, man, you can start at $1,000 and you can, stop at, around $5,000 or $7,000, just depending on how far into it you want to go.
Yeah.
My fiberglass one, when I sold it for like $7,000. But I prices have dropped so much with 3D printing coming into the equation, simply because you can build it for cheaper. And in the grand scheme of things, 25 rolls of filament, even if you do a static unit, that's still a smoking deal compared to what it used to be.
And it's probably about what, 35 inches, 36 inches tall, probably 3 foot.
No, it's taller than that.
Okay.
I think the main body, if you take
maybe
off,
4 foot.
If you take the legs off, yeah, it's about 3.5, 4 feet. And then once you throw the legs and the dome on, yeah, it's got some good height to it.
So people are saying over in chat. Facebook user, if you click the URL in Facebook, I'll be able to see your name. If you click the URL and above the write-up on Facebook. How many printers do you think you have owned, and do you have a favorite?
At this point, I have owned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 printers. And the 5 that I have now are the only surviving units. The other ones I murdered during my early first year of learning. I run 2 Fusion 3 F410s. Those are my big heavy hitters, and then behind that I run a first gen CR10 before the S series dropped, and it's a 400 by 400 by 400 unit. And then after that, I run a little first gen i3 Mega, which that's an Anycubic unit. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure everybody does know. And that's just been an absolute little sweetheart of a workhorse printer. And then I've got an first gen Anycubic 4max, which should be solid in theory. It does okay. But right now it's down for the count. I think the motherboard is fried on it, and trying to get a replacement motherboard for a printer that Anycubic only cranked out for 1 year and then promptly discarded is proving to be a little interesting. to get it.
Your full-time job is making and building props for people?
It is, yeah. You know, the wife and I moved down from the Pacific Northwest to get out of the gray and rain after years and years and years of thinking about it. We finally decided to do, and so we moved down here to Nevada a little bit over a year ago, and then the COVID stuff hit. So the job market is not all that great in this area to begin with. But
you're up in Carson City area, right?
I am. Yeah.
I'm in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and it's beautiful up here. I love, I grew up through New Mexico and Arizona, so having a chance at blue sky and sunshine again is lovely.
Yeah, I walk outside and I see dirt. There's no pine trees everywhere. I want to drive an hour and go to Mount Charleston. It's real pretty, but
see, that's why I like Carson. Because I can go 5 minutes one direction, be out in the desert, and I can go 15 minutes the other direction, right up, and I'm up at Tahoe and up in the woods. And so it's a nice balance. I think if I could have the ocean close by again, it'd be perfect. But yeah, it's the machines keep trucking right along, and you deal with the maintenance same as everybody else does.
We pull up some more pictures here that you.
That's my wife and I at the OMSI event there again, with male and female Tuscan Raider setups. My dad did the leather pouch there again and horn setup on the female Tuscan Raider, but
very nice.
The mask is all resin cast, and on the male it's a vacuform undershell on it. So yeah, it's a lot of those. It seems like I do like a new costume every year, and it'd be 4 or 5 months of homework and research and gathering photos, and you get to where the project like the back of your hand, and then you start to build. That seems to be the trick every time. Yeah, it's I'm on the far left there, Sand Trooper armor again. That was my very, very first set of Stormtrooper armor, and it stayed clean.
Before I got into 3D printing, I said, when I get a 3D printer, I want to make a Stormtrooper helmet. I've been in the hobby for over 3.5 years, and I still haven't printed one.
I'm really torn. I think you can do it, but I think there's a right way to do stuff and a wrong way to do stuff. And if you want Stormtrooper armor or Snowtrooper or Biker Scout armor, and you want it to be really solid and really wearable, I think vacuforming is the way to go. But it's been a long progression. I went from, like I said, building model kits as a kid to doing the 501st stuff, and each year it seemed like it was, I was pushing myself further and further, whether it was resin casting, whether it was doing fiberglass work, whether it was making molds and vacuforming stuff, whether it was sewing. Like, I'm a whiz these days with a sewing machine.
You look like an actor. You sure you weren't in any of the movies?
Oh man, I'd given my left nut to do it. My dream was always to work in the movie industry. I just didn't want to live in California or move up to Canada. And that was pretty much my my only option. So I've always just kind of kept it on the DL, and it's been my side hobby and hustle for, oh God, like I said, like 22 and some change years at this point. Yeah, and you'll see different iterations. I think like that was version 1 of the Sand Trooper stuff, and it's it goes through iterations. You rock it for a bit till you're tired of it and clean it up and do it a different way. And
how do you usually age something like that? You print it white. How do you age it?
It depends. It just depends on what you want your end product to look like. And our R2, I weathered him with a pint of Guinness. Like, my garage, thank God my wife loves me as much as she does, because my garage reeked of just like a dirty hole in the wall bar for like a month afterwards, but it worked great. I've used tea over the years. I used paints. I used stains. You learn over time. It's do and figure out what works, and then you kind of build this mental arsenal of, okay, well, if A, then B, and you just know what products you're going to use when you're planning out your paint jobs. Same deal with like Ecto. It'll be nice and white and shiny, for about that long before we get to making it look real world. And yeah, Marcus commented, might as well buy a vacuum-formed helmet. Yes, and yes. You know, for heavy cosplay stuff, and especially when you're dealing with the shiny white armor of the Imperials, vacuum forming is the way to go, in my opinion. Not that you can't do it for 3D, you can't do it in 3D printing, but for durability. It takes a lot of abuse when you cosplay in it.
Here's some more pictures we'll jump into.
Yeah, good old those snow trooper armor. Wrong blaster for anybody that points it out. It just happened to be what I could get my hands on at the time. But yeah, we had I think those pictures were taken up on the highway going up from Medford, Oregon, over to Klamath Falls, and it just happened to be a really nice snowy winter, so it was a perfect opportunity to pull over on the side of the road, change in the middle of a snowstorm, and get some awesome Kodak camera, disposable camera shots. But
about how old were you then?
Oh God, I must have been 22 or 23, I think.
I wish I was still 22 or 23.
Oh boy, yeah, I'd kill to have his knees. I'd kill pretty much to have everything about him, minus what I know now.
How old are you now? About 38, 39?
I turn 40 next month.
Okay. I was going to say 41 or 42, but I don't want to offend you, so I better start low and go up.
Oh, no, it's too late for that now. The fact that you didn't say 32, 33, for shame, Gary.
Well, last year I grew a beard for about 6 months. And I looked like I was in my late 60s, so I shaved it back off. Yeah, I'm 56, but I don't feel it, obviously. You
don't look it.
Yeah. So, if I ever start looking older, getting wrinkled, I'll just turn that knob on the back of my head tight and pull my wrinkles back a little bit.
Everything back up. Yeah. Everybody thinks we're a pug from the back.
He jumped into another picture here.
Yeah, that was I think that when the original Clone Wars cartoon came out, done by the Samurai Jack guys, I was all over that. And that helmet, I think, in retrospect, way too big. But there again, early learning and teaching, trying to make stuff fit, and it's really interesting when you're designing stuff, especially that's been made for a cartoon, to fit the human body. You learn a lot over time on what fits, what works, how to adjust things, how to hang things, how to keep things in place when you're moving. And there's a lot of engineering that goes on under the hood. And,
if I made a stormtrooper suit now, I'd have to have a Santa belly on it. But I see Barnsley's did do that in one of the shows. I seen him in one video. He had a big old belly on the stormtrooper outfit that he printed. I think he printed it.
My favorite that I've seen is this dude did an animation of this fat Iron Man, and so his guts like all bulgy, and you can see the armor kind of popping and splaying, and he's there with one of his repulsors, and he's got an AM/PM nachos in the other hand, and he's just using the repulsor to melt the cheese on the nachos, and I went, yes, middle-aged cosplay. Yeah, we did for the Portland group, we did a lot of Salvation Army outreach. We did Toys for Tots, and we'd go up a couple times a year. We'd raise money to donate to Dornbecker's Children's Hospital, and that was always really neat. I like doing stuff for the kids. I kind of think that life is pretty much engineered to crap all over you, and all the rest of us just kind of take it and swallow it. But little kids, it's rough when it hits them. Kids and animals, it's my soft spot. Yeah, I miss that suit. It was comfortable, and what was the best about it? I could sit in it. For anybody out there who's ever actually worn Stormtrooper armor, oh man, you're on your feet all day long. There's no sitting in Stormtrooper armor. And, stepping around, you just sound like a Tupperware party. It clanks and bops all over the place.
If you got to go to the restroom, you better hope you can just take part off quickly.
No, there just isn't. You're going to, especially once you get into the Sand Trooper stuff, because then you've got packs and straps and, yeah, it's terrible.
I asked Frank from Frankly Built. He's a YouTube channel. He does all Iron Man stuff. And he has a Iron Man suit that he built, but he's never worn it out cosplaying like he wanted to. And he was always concerned about somebody pushing him and tripping and falling and breaking something, a bone, because of all the plastic. And if he ever had to use a restroom, obviously you can't just take stuff off quickly. So
I'm sure that could be an absolute horror story. You know, you'll notice anytime, 501st stuff get together, and quite frankly, pretty much anybody that does any kind of helmeted cosplay, usually they've got spotters with them, because you just can't see a dang thing. I think I remember the first year I did the Starlight Parade in Portland, which it's during the Rose Festival, and the Starlight Parade happens at nighttime, and I remember, we started off, I'm doing the, walking in the parade, and you're just pouring sweat inside your Stormtrooper armor, and my fans died. And with Marcus, what's the proper comeback for "Aren't you a little short for Stormtrooper"? Given how many times I've heard it over the years, and I was much thinner then, so at least, the armor fit. But yeah, no, I've never had a decent comeback. I've just taken it and died a little bit inside every time. But yeah, Starlight Parade, the fans crapped out and the lenses fogged up promptly, and thank God for weird third senses, because all of a sudden something didn't feel right. And I managed, my short little T-Rex arms, and the only way I could get my helmet off was by fingertips. You got to turn your head sideways to even get it out of the helmet, and I popped it, and there I was standing like 2 inches away from the barricade at a turn in the parade route with all these people staring at me. And I turned to my right, and there goes my group, a good solid, 50 yards on. And then it was quick step with the helmet off and then try and pop it back on to finish off the parade. But yeah, the trials and tribulations you go through in armor is, yeah, it's always interesting.
I don't talk about politics on my channel, but one thing funny about this comment, whenever I see people protesting and there's hundreds of thousands of people in the streets, I'm thinking, I don't see porta potties. What are they doing? This might be the answer. Anyway, I don't need to explain that. So that's funny. Hello, Dave. How you doing? Do you have vacuum forming equipment?
Not anymore. No. So much of that stuff has come and gone. When I got out of the 501st, I'd done my last year. I was XO for Cloud City Garrison, and honestly, the drama and the politics just kind of ruined it. And the 501st as a whole was changing. When I got in, I think they were under 400 members worldwide, and I was right there in the Carolina Garrison, and which is the start of the whole thing. And by the time I got out, I think we'd broken like 3,000 members worldwide, and it was neat because we were getting more and more officially sanctioned, Lucasfilm gigs, where they had figured out that they had a source of free labor through us. And that has certainly continued on since I got out. Like some of the things they're getting to do now is really neat. But the downside that went with it was that it really stopped being a hobby and turned into a job, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And it got bad enough there at the end that I just kind of didn't want anything to do with it. And so everything just got liquidated, and I moved on, and I just kind of took a break from it for probably about a year. And then I, I'm passionate enough about it. I just got back into making, and I've been with it ever since. But, these days, even if I wanted to, that's pretty much out. I wrecked my car 2 years ago and put it into a, concrete median at 70 some odd miles an hour, going across black ice. And I don't know that I could do an 8-hour shift, standing awkwardly in plastic armor anymore. So I tend to focus less on the cosplay aspect of it and a lot more on just building replica pieces, which I find I enjoy just as much. I think at the end of the day, it's the whole process from researching That was my first solo in carbonite. For everybody who's seen the carbonite door, you know, our place now, I just don't have any room for a piece like that. But yeah, that was solo, all done in fiberglass that time around, and the whole box made out of hips.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a member. I'm sure you were too. Of Build It and They Will Come, the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And that's where most of my Star Wars heads came from. And I was on there for 6 or 7 months, maybe a little longer. And then some of the heads they were coming out with, I didn't really care for. And I was getting too much. So I kind of moved away from it. I'm still I'm not still a member anymore, but I still print their stuff occasionally for older files that I haven't done.
Yeah, they've got some absolutely phenomenal artists. And if you're into Star Wars, that's definitely a group that's well worth joining, because you'll find some of the best pieces there that you'll find anywhere, quite frankly. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it was it was one of those where, like I said, I sold it along with the rest of my collection, and when I handed it off to the guy who came and picked it up, there was a little seed at the back of my noggin that went, I will build another one someday. So shop door was the obvious place to put it, but next to it you'll see the Bausch costume that we made. That one was you want to talk about learning the hard way for some techniques for running the sewing machine. But I built that costume for my wife, and yeah, it was slick. I missed that one too. There's a lot of work put into that one.
Now, this next picture I'm going to show is not your picture, but it's something that you're currently working on. I just started working on, and a few other people that I know are working on it. And here's a picture of what the project is. It's really awesome. Ghostbuster Car Ecto 1.
Yeah, I posted up some shots earlier. I'm sure people are probably tired of staring at it, but let me see if I can.
There, your full screen.
Yeah. So this is, it's mine. We're printing it at 250% scale. It's so it comes out to, I think, just a hair over 1/6 scale. We just finished the rear door on this sucker today. I'm actually experimenting around. I'm going to order some new rare earth magnets to countersink down into the sill and into the bottom of the door to help hold things together. Top of the door, I'm going to hit it with a heat gun here at the frame a little bit just to get it to seat just a little bit. It's
about 1/6 scale, right?
It is, yeah, just a hair over that. And then hood is all prepped and mounted. And I think for anybody who's doing it at 250% scale, I'm going to be messing around with doing an insert for this sucker that'll have just a V8 topper on it, kind of like what you'd see on an RC model, and that way you could hide your electronics underneath it and have your switches come up and through.
That's awesome.
Then and then we've got the front driver's side door set up. So
I want to do those in resin on my Elegoo Mars, but the door won't fit. So I'm thinking about chopping off the window frame where your hand is and trying to
like right here
and trying to print them separately in my Mars, possibly.
Yeah, if you could get away with it, cutting it right at this top seam would be really swell. I think that'd give you a real good base to work from. But I'd be real curious to find out if it does fit or not. But I'm real happy with the way everything's lining up. I still got to do a little bit more sanding in here just to get things to snug in properly. And there again, I think I'm going to end up doing magnets, I think, on all of these doors. They do close, but I mean, as you can see, you get just a little bit of wiggle, and I'd like to have that be flush up with
just like real life.
Yeah, that's the goal. And so on a model this big,
you need to make sure they squeak when you close them too, right?
There are limits, sir. There are limits.
Hey, do you have time to do a walk around and show us all your goodies?
Sure. Yeah. Does anybody in chat? I tell you what, if I'm sure, most everybody in chat has probably seen either the brief one I did at After Hours on Verf, or they've seen the Edge of Tech one. If anybody has anything specific that they'd like to see, I'd be more than happy to
throw it in chat.
So I'm not going to be able to see chat, Jerry. So if you
Jim says, ask if the sausage is going in the trunk.
So many sausages. So many. Yeah, the Ecto is definitely in trial mode right now. It's definitely trial mode. Yeah, I think I got a chance to kind of showcase the Ghost in the Shell piece. I love this piece.
That's awesome.
I know it may be sacrilege outside of like enough that I could fit on one hand. I'm not an anime junkie. I don't even know that I absolutely adore that movie, but the very first time that I saw that, I went, that's cool. I want to build it.
Can we take a look at that Predator behind you?
Sure. Yeah, he's not sorry, bear with me, guys. I can't flip my camera, and so it's I gotta kind of stand next to it and stare at my screen to see what you're showing. The head right now, the head's the only thing that's painted.
Wow.
This has been my work in progress for like 2 years, and I keep dragging my heels on it. You can find this model on Game Body. This is a Game Body model, and I think it's phenomenal as far as
Nikki Turner is wondering if you have a favorite print in your shop. That'd probably be a hard one to answer.
Honestly, it is that piece. There's something about it to have, this kind of soft outside skin and then pop it open and have this whole, mecha underpinnings with gears that come out. Man, hang on. Let me just bring this down and bring it out into the light, because this piece, I never get tired of looking at it. It's just cool the way it's laid out. And this is one you can find. It's either on Colts 3D or CG Trader. If anybody's interested in it, hit me up. I'll gladly share the link, because this is a really cool project. But like the whole face, the engineering and design behind it is phenomenal to begin with. To make everything fit together, to make your hinges fit together so that everything is movable. The whole underface has recessed orientation dots on it. All the pieces are pinned so that you can get everything lined up. But I don't know how well it shows up. You can see like there's a whole set of gears and stuff up underneath the chin, and so it just alludes to something really far out and really cool. And the artist side of me just really gets off on that. Like I just dig it.
My son is wondering. He said something about StarCraft.
That was my first play around with scanning my own head on with my iPhone, and it took like a dozen tries to finally get it all right, and then do some 3D modeling after the fact. But yeah, I did this.
Wow.
This big StarCraft figure. Hang on, I'm just gonna turn it that way.
Okay.
And
very nice.
Yeah, it comes in at probably about 3 feet tall. And,
my son's probably going to want me to build him one now.
Well, and it's just a whole different animal to be able to scan your own face in and then jam it on a project. Call it vanity, I guess. I don't know. I just wanted to play around with it and see if it would work, and it's cool.
Non-fan would like to see your winning Verf model again, the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. The competition for that was so fierce, and there were so many great models. I mean, that was really neat that I won, but oh my God, I was drooling over their work just as much, I think. I'm still in shock, but that was just really neat. And the side benefit too for myself is, I run my own show here and pennies are tight, and getting a couple $100 gift card to be able to turn around and blow on filament, that's a blessing.
I know you made a comment that to put the fairy lights in, you had to drill through the bottom up through the pumpkins. Didn't you drill the holes and then you placed the pumpkin and glued them down after the fact?
No, the whole piece. You can get the base model off of my mini factory, and you can find the Jack Skellington on Thingiverse, I believe, except this is a head from a different Jack Skellington.
Yes.
And peck around. And then the Lithopane Moon you can find. But there again, I hacked and modded it to make a round box on the backside to hold all the lights. So it's like, 5 iterations of remixes deep at this point. But as far as the main base goes, no, I printed it with the pumpkins in place. Yeah, I had to sit, and then I hollowed out the whole model, cut the bottom off of it, so that I could print it and have it be completely hollow underneath. Hang on.
Nikki Turner's wondering what's your longest print that you've done up to this time?
140 some odd hours, I think, in one go.
And you usually start multiple projects. If you got a lot going on, you'll start multiple projects at once and kind of jump around.
Yeah, it depends on what orders are like here in the shop. There are times where all of my stuff just goes completely on the back burner because the printers are all running like mad to fill orders for folks.
Jim is wondering if you could do any piece from any movie or show that you haven't done, what would it be?
That I haven't done ever?
If something you've always wanted to do that you've never done yet.
I gotta think about that one. Like, I've got a really long list. Man, that's actually a really, really tough question to answer. Let me think about that one for a little bit. Something will come to me.
And Han Solo and Carbonite, don't you have a door there somewhere? And then a Wile E. Coyote?
Yeah. For those that haven't seen
there
it,
he is.
That's the Solo door for the shop.
Oh, and C-3PO, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's the 3PO project.
Is he articulated at all?
Yeah, he's on a motion sensor in his belly button,
cool.
So he kicks on, the head turns, the lights kick on, and
he
chit chats.
He's about 5 foot tall, looks like.
Yeah, I thought I had my measurements right when this figure's only been printed, I think, max at like 12 inches tall. The artist kind of freaked when I was like, yeah, I'm going to bump him up to full size. He's like, I never had intended for that. And I went, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'll let you know how it pans out. And it worked out, but I had to get online and look at Wiki to see, what Anthony Daniels and C-3PO's heights were. And I ended up being about 2 inches short. So I lost 2 inches somewhere in the printing process. But
I guess Dominic's seen Skeletor somewhere. And Marcus Adams says, where's his holy hand grenade?
Holy hand grenade, don't have. I haven't done any Monty Python pieces. That needs to be remedied. I do have a couple pieces I've been wanting to do for Monty Python. Mm-hmm. They just haven't made it into the queue yet. As far as what you think Skeletor was, it's not. It is this file. I think you can pick them up on My Mini Factory. I'll have to look up what the link was.
Yeah.
This was one of those ones where it appealed to me, and I just wanted to just do it. Sometimes I just pick up these projects and I go, I just kind of want to push the limits for my own skill set and paint something that's outside of the realm of what I normally paint. I think that goes with this hobby hand in hand. Is if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not branching out at least occasionally and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, you don't learn new stuff. Sometimes that challenge of forcing yourself to paint something that's, maybe you're not all hot and bothered about it, or maybe it's just, a lot of my stuff is science fiction. That's my thing. It's my jam.
I've never printed anything life size yet. I wanted to, I just haven't got around to it. I print a lot of my models 150 to 250%, but they're just models. As an example, here's the Mandalorian I did. Tony Chambers had this commissioned over on a 3D model crowdfund.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's a great model.
And the base, I have sand. I use kind of a glue on it. I forget what the glue's called, but they use it when they build puzzles and stuff. And then I put sand on the base.
Very cool.
But
is that resin or FDM?
It's all FDM.
Yeah. I find with FDM, there again, it depends on your printer, but you know, especially if you start getting into statues and figures, you learn fairly quickly. Sizing up does you big favors. It just makes things easier to do, makes the details come out better. You know, I think that's probably the biggest draw for the resin printers is for folks that do a lot of statue stuff. Comes in solid.
And then Sandy came to visit. She jumps up on my lap all the time, gets jealous when I talk too long. She's a good girl. And here's my Ecto 1. I took this picture right before we started. That's printed in Sunlu Silk PLA Plus that they sent me. And
how do you like that silk?
I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to pull it off right now and take a quick look. It just got done.
I find that my profile settings are just not adjusted for it, and I avoid anything that has silk in the title because all it does is jam my print heads.
Oh. Yeah, I printed at 215.
What's the layer height?
What was my layer height? 0.12. Yeah, 0.12.
That's clean. Yeah.
And on the model on Colt, as you know, they want you to print half of it like this. But I would have had 1 million supports in here. So I put it in NetFab and I just cut the front of it off. So now when I print the other half of the car, I'll turn it up on end. But I've got all the supports to pull off.
Yeah, I ended up printing mine the same way. I think rather than cutting it a 90, I did a I don't know, probably 30-degree angle coming up off the edge of the fender well up to the front corner here.
What program do you cut in?
I use Mesh Mixer. I really like Mesh Mixer. You know, it's not. I wouldn't say that it's like the easiest to get into, just because it's not terribly self-explanatory. But once you start getting a feel for it, and there's plenty of YouTube tutorials, that's a really good first jumping off step to, you know, getting your head wrapped around, you know, not just printing what you download, but modifying it and making it easier to print, or modifying it in general and doing remixes. And yeah, it's good.
Oh, here's a question from Marcus. Can you see chat yet or no?
I can't. No, I'm still.
It says, Matt, can you run down your typical 3D print finishing steps? Is it different between resin and filament? Do you use airbrush? Do you use airbrush at all?
So I don't print in resin. I don't have a resin printer yet. I just haven't. I haven't had a need, and you know, I print solely in ABS in the shop, and you know, I think like for whatever I drew the line at resin, like, whoa, that's too toxic, which is nonsense. So you know, resin printing is in my future, and then I'll get to be all over again and learn from scratch. But as far as finishing goes, it depends on what printer it comes off. To be honest, like on the 410s. I print ABS and I print it at 0.3 layer heights. And if I run the flat of my finger along it, I can sort of feel texture. If I run my nail down it, I can feel the layer heights. So it doesn't, and ABS sands really, really easily. You don't have to fight. It doesn't fight you the way PLA does. So my post-processing 9 times out of 10 is just to rough it up quick and dirty with, these 100, 180 grit emery boards.
I buy those nail file boards.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I don't stock sandpaper in this shop, but I don't really use power tools, and I use these emery boards like for 90% of my sanding.
Do you ever buy the twigs off Amazon, the little tiny sticks, or like sanding twigs?
No, for those, I've actually just got a set of small jeweler's files. Okay. And they come in a whole slew of different shapes. A set of jeweler's files.
Well, I have some of those, yes.
Will do absolute wonders for getting up in nooks and crannies for doing that last final sand. So anyway, so yeah, I do that, and then everything gets base coated in Rust-Oleum standard spray paint. It's an automotive high build sandable primer. It reeks. Wear a respirator when you use it, because my God, if it's even a quarter as bad for you as it smells, it's some pretty nasty stuff. But it works really well. So I'll go through, I'll spray a coat of that, I'll sand. If it needs a second coat, then I'll go from there. And then depending on the model, I pick a base coat color, again in Rust-Oleum. The whole model gets coated in that. And there again, you just kind of have to know your paints, know your colors, know what top coats best over everything else. But everything gets base coated in that. And then from there, everything is either hand brushed or airbrushed in Army Painter or Vallejo paints, and then everything gets sealed in either a Vallejo flat satin or semi-gloss or gloss clear coat. And there again, once you step away from your I use the Rust-Oleum paints because they're enamels. They go on really nice and they're cheap. It's much cheaper than priming in that. And then just bear in mind that once you swap over to Vallejo or Army Painter, you're now dealing with a water-based acrylic. So you can't do any more spray painting over the top of it. You need to stay with your water-based. Ergo, why I use the Vallejo water-based top coats to seal my paint when it's done. So yeah.
How do you typically, I know the answer to this, but how do you typically seal your models if you want them to look like you painted them? What would be your final step? A matte varnish or?
It is, yes, it is. It is.
Because you wouldn't want to use a high gloss unless it's like C3PO or something.
C3PO actually didn't even get a high gloss. He got a satin finish on him.
Okay.
I mean, bear in mind that with 3PO going into it, it was a really hard decision for me because most of the guys, if you get onto like the 3PO builders groups, those guys are, not very many of them are 3D printing their parts. Most of them are doing fiberglass or vacuform shells. And when they're done, they're typically taking them in and they're paying a pretty penny to get them nickel coated. And then they're taking them to an automotive sprayer to have a gold tinted chrome sprayed over the actual metal nickel coat that's put on them. It's a pretty pricey process. And I just didn't, this is a project for me, for the shop. I don't need it for that. And so painting a 3PO like this and trying to get away, the goal was just to make him look grungy, make him look dirty, and it worked out. Is it like the best 3PO in the world?
How long have you had that?
I don't know. I finished 3PO like a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, But as far as your top coats, if you look for Vallejo Mecha varnishes, you can pick it, like I said, in gloss, matte, semi-gloss, satin finishes, and it's good to have a bottle of each. Bear in mind with this stuff, you need to clean your airbrush thoroughly, like full disassembly. This has a tendency to coat up on your needle and really grip to it. So, but it's a great top coat and it seals.
I've been trying some spray gun cleaner lately. I've been cleaning my airbrush with.
Mine just gets disassembled, at the end of every week or two, and it just gets thrown in a hot soapy bucket and sits and soaks overnight, and then I go back over it with a toothbrush, real fine and dandy. I think people would probably be a little mortified at my color changes here in the shop. I keep a squirt bottle on hand and a big bottle of that.
Chris Kaufman is wondering about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle party van. It's about the same size as Ecto-1. Are you familiar with that?
No, but I know Chris and I know exactly what he's alluding to. And I'm not walking all the way down there, Chris, but I try. But paint color changes are really quick and nasty and dirty here in the shop. You just get to a point where I run 2 air brushes and they get rinsed out real good, they get back pressured, they get sprayed, and then I come back through. Keep a squirt gun with a dialable nozzle on hand if you can dial it in to a jet stream, and paper towels. You rinse the whole thing out, dump it, stick your finger in there with a paper towel, wipe out whatever excess there is, and then come back through with that squirt gun, and you can squirt right down into your bowl with it. And it's a quick way to be able to hit stuff, break it free, rinse it out, and then drop your next color in and keep rocking and rolling.
I use airbrush cleaner or clear Windex. Once I get most of the paint dumped out, then I run over to the sink, I run water through it, and then I come back and clean it again real quick, and then I put a new color in.
I think that's probably the one thing I'm missing in my shop is I don't have that will be a future upgrade. You know, I think heat and AC and temperature control was first and foremost. With as cold as winters get here and as hot as summers get here, it was it takes a lot of pressure off of your machines, because I typically, you know, printing in ABS, I'm typically running 110 on the bed and 275 at the head, and it's toasty. But you know, keeping the shop temperature, you know, a solid 73 degrees without fluctuating, I find really keeps the print failures to an absolute minimum. Then it's just mechanical failure on the machine's part versus having weird temperature stuff happen. But I'm trying to.
My wife said she's learning a lot. I wish I could get my wife involved in my hobby. I have so many things that she could be doing and learning how to do. I want to get her on one of my videos so I can do a video about something to get her on screen. I know Jim gets his wife in occasionally, and I would love to try to get my wife involved more. So maybe one of these days she'll jump in.
My wife is supportive behind the scenes, but yeah, no, this isn't her jam. She's not arty, you know. She's although she knits, but she does her thing and I do mine, and yeah, it works.
Here's my 3 ectos I printed in resin. I just showed them on screen, but there's 3 of them. The 4th one, I think it just got done. So.
Oh, good, awesome. So you're going to be able to print the 4 for you, and those are coming up my way, right?
If you need them, I can do that. But yeah, they came out really good.
God, those did come out good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to dipping my toe into resin printing just for smaller stuff like that. You know, I find most of my projects are big enough that 9 times out of 10, where resin printing really comes in handy for me is if I want to do display based plaques. I would love to be able to resin print them and then do my own finishing techniques over the top. But yeah, for projects like this, even at 250% scale, I'm kind of curious to see how my packs come out in FDM. So I may holler. We'll see.
Yeah. Or just send me a bottle of resin off Amazon. I'll print them up and mail them to you. Sweet. And then you can paint them and finish them.
For you Farscape fans out there, I'm a little 1812.
If I was financially wealthy, I would just make them and send them, but I'm not. You're on full screen again.
Yeah. This was one of 2. Oh,
cool.
Yeah. I want to build my other one again, and that way I've got the double set. But I love Fallout. I like anything that looks old and used and looks like it has a story behind it.
You're definitely ready for Halloween. Anything you want to put on?
You know, I tell you, Halloween was my thing for years. Like every year, we'd get all stoked and figure out a costume like 4 or 5 months.
Chris wants to know, you ever thought about teaching classes on how to do different things?
Keep tabs on my YouTube. It's coming. Ecto is going to be, you know, the first in the future. Yes, there will be some dedicated level 101, level 102, level 103 stuff. I've had enough people just clamoring and hooting and hollering for it that, yeah, I'd be more than happy. You know, my the thing that I would like to see in exchange, you know, when as a YouTube creator, it is amazing to me how much information YouTube gives you to help, you know, to kind of chew on mentally and try and make your channel better. What I notice is that even reducing my videos to like 10 minutes or less, most people only watch for like 2 minutes and they bounce.
Yeah.
I really don't want to spend the time doing it if folks don't actually want to learn. So I hope to see those statistics get better, where folks actually do stick around till the end. And, you know,
well, one thing about all videos is you never know what's going to happen later on in the video. Or like when I do a hangout for 4 hours, different people pop in at different times. You never know what they're going to talk about, bring up. You've dropped into most of my hangouts that I do during the week, either on Friday or Sunday. And you never know what somebody's going to talk about. So don't just watch a couple minutes and go. The person you want to see or you always wanted to meet might be on there in an hour. Or the person that's on there might talk about something you didn't know. We're always learning from each other constantly.
Indeed. Yeah, I think, but for now, before I get around to the level 101, 102 stuff, the ecto build, right now it's a little bit fluff because we're just showing, hey, look, we've got another piece done and glued on. But we're gonna come to the point, here pretty soon, and we're already getting to it. Right now you're seeing me, do a coat of Bondo and do sanding. I've kind of explained why, on a regular model, it's kind of one thing. You're not going to see me Bondo every single project that I do, but on a project this large where I've got really big planes, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm finishing a 6 scale car. And so the process, whether it's on this or whether you're, painting, repainting a used car from the ground up, the process really isn't all that different. Like your final finish is only going to look as good as your substrate does. And so it takes a hell of a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure your seams are filled, make sure your seams are covered, to make sure that things get built up. And
once you prime a model, if you can still see the seam or the crack, that's exactly what it's going to look like when you paint it. So go back over it again, and once you prime it, once it's completely gone, that's how your finished product will look.
And a level 1 mistake is to go, it's good enough. The top layers will fill it in. I will tell you right now, the top layers will never fill it in. You have to this is the part of the story when it comes to making any of this stuff that's not glamorous. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort in surface prep. And this is the part that anyone in their right mind will always tell you, it sucks. It's miserable. It's boring. You just throw the tunes on and you zone out and you just sand and you feel and you sand and you feel. And when you're getting tired and you're getting lazy and you're getting complacent and your brain's like, oh, that's good enough. You know what? That's the time to just put your tools down, go to bed, and then come back at it fresh the next day, where your brain goes, yeah, no, you and I both know that's not going to cut it. And then you go, all right, back to sanding, back to filling. I think I'm actually amazed at how many people across Facebook and Twitter have commented or have PM'd me asking, what's that stuff all over the car, or why are you doing that? I guess a lot of people just don't know, but if you want it to look right at the end of the day, unfortunately on something like this, look, if it's something that has a ton of detail in it, you can get away with hiding your crimes with paint. On something like this, where there's really big, open, flat surfaces that just have to be nice and white and glossy, like you would when you go out and look at your car fresh out of the car wash.
Walton Harris just popped in chat saying hi to both of us.
Hey, man, how's it going?
He's the other one doing the Ecto one right now also.
Right on. I look forward to seeing those progress pictures. For what I did see today, that looked really good.
Yeah, he's been posting on my group also.
Cool. Well, and he's doing 100. Is he doing 100% scale?
I'm not sure how big he's going. Probably bigger, Walton, if you could type it in chat.
I tell you, I was chatting with World Monster today.
He's got a Phenom.
I don't want to scare anybody away from getting this model, because it truly is. It's one of those ones that pops up where you just go, holy smokes, a lot of work went in behind the scenes to make this sucker, and this really is a great model. But it's also not for the faint of heart. It's a really involved and convoluted model, and especially if you go the whole 9 yards, and the instructions are fantastic, but if you go the whole 9 yards to do lights and sound in this sucker,
he's doing it at 100%. He's going to add a bunch of extras to it.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing the extras.
Yeah.
Keep your tell him to keep his eyes peeled, or I guess he can hear me.
I know you're doing a video series on it. Once I get a bunch of parts printed, I'll do my first video talking about it, and then throughout the process, and then maybe in my last video, I can take some clips from you and some clips from Walt, and I'll have to ask him, and then I can show what we all did in the last video on all of it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Little group effort on it that way. It's funny because a lot of people see the big projects that I do, and they, he nailed it. He totally nailed it. Like, this is, it's not print and you're done, and it's not print and paint and you're done. They're just, I think just because of what the model inherently is, it just requires a whole hell of a lot more effort to really prep it and have it be as right as possible before you even remotely consider
If
putting
you're just popping in, Walton, this just came off my Hypercube. I cut the front clip because I didn't want to print it up in the air and have a million supports on it. So this is printed in white silk PLA or PLA Plus by Sunlu. They had sent me a roll I'm trying out. And then I've got I got all 4 ecto packs done. One's on the resin printer now. And those are 250%. And I put a drain hole in the top there and the one in the very bottom, which I can easily fill with resin. Then I'll take my UV flashlight and I'll cure it real quick. But they came out really nice. I wanted to do my doors on the resin printer, but they won't fit on the Elegoo Mars. It's too small. And I don't have a bigger printer yet. So I'm going to probably cut off the window channels and just print the door itself and then print the channels separately. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I wasn't sure if Walton had heard me.
Yeah. I think if you can, I'd do it that way. Although I have to say, as long as the doors didn't even require that much in the way of supports. I thought the doors actually printed really well and really smooth.
That's my messy hobby room that I'm in right now. It's lit for people who haven't seen it. It used to be a living room in my house. And there's a Hypercube there that I just printed that on. And then I'm enclosing my back patio, which there's kind of an angle of it. And I've got a wall framed up. When I get more money, then I'll do more work on it. But I only make so much money every month on my retirement to pay bills with. So I do a little work here and there. But it's coming out good. That's how big the area is going to be. The wall will go right across there.
You gonna do windows across that stretch?
No, that wall's gonna be completely framed up and solid, and then I'll have the door right there on the right side. That's the door opening.
Yeah, right on.
And the window, if you look at that door, let's see, on that door right there, it's got a blind built into it. I can open and close it or tilt it, and I can let in sunlight there.
Yeah, right on.
So, and then where I took the picture from is a sliding glass door in my hobby room here that goes out to that room. And that was part of the house. When I bought the house, it had a patio enclosed under the house. So I just have to enclose and insulate that one wall.
Very cool. Anybody else have any questions?
Very nice. Where will it live when you're done with it?
My wife caught me off guard. She was actually really super excited about it. I drug it down, like a kid with a new prize, and she got crazy excited about it. So I think it might actually end up going on the the mantle in the dining room, which if you guys have seen me post, you'll see. I guess at this point, it's just more of a cult shrine to Stargate over there in the corner of the dining room, and then
I'll check into that, Walton. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I think it's probably going to end up taking. I've got a Nautilus down there, and and I've got another Nautilus sitting on the shelf up here that I'm waiting on the customer to pay me for. As soon as it goes, my Nautilus from inside will probably wander on up here, and then I think Ecto 1 will sit in the dining room for a bit because I don't really want it to get messed up out here. It's it's a workshop. Everything gets dusty. Everything gets. I think
Josh from Alien 3D wanted to do a flash mob at Earth this year, but since it was virtual, he had a bunch of people send him in quick videos where they're kind of dancing on camera. So I seen where he posted on Twitter, so I sent him a clip where I'm kind of jumping around. So I'm the first person right after he goes off camera. He goes, "Oh, the flash mob showed up." He's talking to somebody, and luckily I got my couple seconds there. I get to jump around on camera, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really neat the whole way around. I think it was a nice way to push the show out anyway.
If they're virtual next year, or if they do a virtual show, once again, I'll fill out their app and I'll try to get on the show because I wanted to be on it this year, but I filled it out and no one ever contacted me. So I was going to take my best models and line them up for 5 minutes, kind of show everybody what I do, and but maybe next year.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I was just completely unaware of it, and especially given the fact that it's an East Coast thing, and us being out here in the West, it wasn't even on my radar. And MC Chris just emailed me out of the blue, and I guess he had seen the Nightmare Before Christmas piece, and
Do you have any? Do you have any other hobbies? I'm kind of getting behind here on questions. Do you have any other hobbies other than 3D printing?
Not these days. I'm guilty of certainly having my fair share over the years. I think most of us can probably say that. I've done tent scale, RC rock crawling. No, I guess that's not 100% true. I disappear out in the desert or up into the woods and I go wheeling. It's a chance to just get away from other people and just go be out in the woods or go be out in the desert and go do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, outside of that, or wandering off to the rifle range once every week or two. That's always that's my Zen place. Something to just go focus on breathing and trigger squeeze. And it just puts me in a little calm zone to kind of come back and get back to the chaos that is this shop. It's a lot of planning, it's a lot of juggling, it's a lot of parts ordering and keeping inventory in the stock in the shop in stock, and keeping track of customers and answering questions. And it's I'm not gonna lie, they always say you don't ever work as hard for anyone else as you will for yourself, and I'm finding that statement to be very, very true. It definitely makes for very long days out here in the shop to try and juggle. And so if anybody ever shoots me a message and you don't get back right away, you will hear from me eventually. I may just have missed it.
Nikki Turner's wondering, will you be doing some time-lapse videos on your different processes that you're working with?
I would very much like to. I've got 2 Raspberry Pi units here in the shop that I had purchased early on, that I've got webcams plugged into that are running Astrobox. I've never messed with Octoprint, but I think I'm getting ready to wipe both of them and put Octoprint on them, because I'd like to set up both of those cameras in front of the F410s, and that way people can see time-lapse prints. I think that'd be a really neat thing to add, or at least edit into my videos for anybody that's following.
I edit with Movie Studio Platinum, and there's a lot of times I can just film what I'm building or putting together, and then Movie Studio I can crunch it. Just speed it up that way for a time lapse.
I'm running everything on a Mac, so I do everything through iMovie, which the learning curve was almost non-existent with it, which is super swell. For those of you who are following my YouTube channel or just joined, you'll definitely see a little blip up in production value from like the C3PO build to like the Secta 1 series. So finally, intro and outro are done. And I'm getting the hang of transitions. So, bear with me. I can honestly say, like my production value is probably never going to be phenomenal, simply because I don't have time to do it. But I'm making an effort to try and document some of these vids further than just, dumping a deluge of pictures onto people online. But you'll find me all over Facebook and Facebook groups and Twitter.
What's your Twitter handle? Chris Coffin's wondering what your Twitter handle is.
No idea off the top of my head. I'd love to give you one, but it and my Instagram handle are similar but slightly different, and I get them mixed up. So I'll keep that.
In the description below, I've got Matt's YouTube channel. There's a link to Matt's YouTube there.
Yeah, if you go to my YouTube, in the top right-hand corner, that's probably actually the best. Because I'd love the views, I'd love the subscribes, and I'd love to see those videos actually be watched all the way to the end. That would at least help motivate me to act out on plans I've got for the channel sooner rather than later.
Non-fan just posted your Twitter handle, your link.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you go straight to the YouTube, in the top right hand corner of the banner, it has links to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram, if you're not into video and you just want to see my work, Instagram's probably the best place to go. But YouTube, I think in the long run, is certainly going to pay a little bit more in dividends for folks who don't have any modeling experience and are actually interested in learning. Just come in with realistic expectation, folks. You're not gonna become an expert in 30 seconds. I'm gonna do my best to not be me and be very long-winded, where you're just gonna be bored to death. So,
yeah, Jim, you have a wrench now. You've got the golden wrench. I'm just looking at comments here. Oh, David Petzel's wondering, did you have a Fifth Element figure?
Yeah. I haven't finished painting two of the pieces. I mean, lights on, probably getting a little bit dark, but yeah, you'll see the stones. I still need to finish two-toning and weathering him, and then the Mangalore bust. I'd love to do the large weapon at some point, the multi bazooka tool. But yeah. Jim. Yeah, it will be when I'm done with it. Of course it will be. We'll figure out how to make part of it functional.
Well, we went over about 15 minutes. I think that was a pretty good stream.
Yeah, right on. I'm like I said, I'm good as long as anybody's got any questions, and otherwise I'm okay to be done for the day too.
Yeah, you'll keep posting pictures and doing videos on your progress on your Ecto-1.
I will. Yeah, I think the next update vid on Ecto, I would like to be at least once I've got the 4 doors on and a coat of Bondo laid. I'm waiting on the next batch of primer and top coat to show up. So the learning aspect is coming up in the next episode or two for the Ecto-1 build, and that's where I'm going to start. I'll explain the Bondo process. That will be next vid. And
I believe you're married. Do you have kids and pets?
I do. Yeah, I've got a wife, no kids. We made the decision early on that it was either vacations in Mexico or kids, not both, and we chose vacations in Mexico.
Well, you need to have a little boy or girl right now to take over for you, if not adopt.
No, I'm good to go. We've got 2 dogs, and they're basically, I love my dogs, but they're basically perpetual toddlers. So I've got a lab, a black lab named Sadie. She was a pound rescue, and she was about 2 years old when we rescued her. And she's getting ready to turn 15. So I don't know how much more time we've got with her. She's a bit senile, and I'm not looking forward to that chapter. And then we have a corgi. And our corgi's name is Fergie, and we got her when she was 2. And no, she hadn't even turned 1 yet when we got her. And she's got to be, I think, 7 or 8 now. And yeah, they're both characters, but they're our family.
All righty. Well, would you like to say anything you'd like to say to anybody before we get out of here?
Honestly, thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks for your time. If you've got any questions, or you just want to see something, or you just want to reach out and say, hey, feel free to do so. I'm always glad to sit and chit chat for a little bit, and
I know show off what I'm working on Twitter, on Facebook, on your YouTube channel, and on my group over on 3D Printing and Painting on Facebook. You've been posting a lot of pictures of your work.
Yeah. It pretty much it pops up everywhere. So if you happen to stumble across my work somewhere, sit tight, because it'll keep carpet bombing wherever you're sitting.
I'll be right back with you, Matt. So hang on for just a minute.
Right on. Have a good night, everybody.
Well, that's about it, everybody. Each and every week, I try to have great, awesome people on to show their hobbies and what they're doing in the 3D printing world and community, other things they might be interested in. at least twice a week on Friday and Sunday. I usually do a hangout where I go live for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, where different people in the community are welcome to drop in, and we talk about anything to do with hobbies and printing. So please like the video, share, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. And everybody take care, and you have a wonderful weekend.